YouTube, it's Brad Phillips. Look at this sweet dog box. Something new, something brand new, in fact, and something from a new source. But you already knew that. So here goes nothing, guys. This box kind of got a little bit screwed up on shipping, I think. So I'm a little bit nervous, and I'm hoping that it didn't get damaged. But we're gonna show you the damage right after I get the seam cut. Sometimes we get this, it's very rare, but we have a whole squished up section of the box. So it makes me nervous when we see that, but we'll see how this goes. This is a brand new release, an exclusive to Tower Hobbies, and we are super excited to be bringing it to you because it is a plane that's near and dear to my heart. We've done a competitive offering numerous times in different sizes, and we're super excited. Camera crew, if you can lift straight up for me. Okay, we're just gonna get rid of this. As you can see, it is a white box. It's totally white, it's very white. And here it is, ASW 28. Amazing, 2 meter in a plug and play. So we're gonna open it up right now. I love the ASW 28, it's one of my favorite models. Super fun flying plane. And we're hoping that this is a good rendition of it because we've had reasonably good renditions of it before and they've been around for some time. We have some damage down here. As you can see, makes me nervous. We're gonna show you guys if we got damage on ours. My guess is we probably don't, but you never know. And that's part of the reason why you watch unboxes on Brian Phillips RC, because what we do here on this channel is unbox the latest and greatest. Build it and then do the radio setup. And when I say build, I understand that sometimes that means assembling, sometimes that means putting together only a little teeny bit, sometimes that means pretty much opening the box. If it's a UMX, for instance, Ultra Micro Extreme. But in this case, we're gonna see, and I'm just being gentle with the box so I don't have any more damage. Normally I'd put that in the background, but can't see it. Okay, so very white, some more white to go with the white. And we have a nice manual here, which is cool. The manual is definitely not folded. Thank you, Tower. We appreciate that. And whenever we can get our hands on a Tower Hobby products, it's super exciting because they're pretty much always running specials. And we have a link to that for you on our website, brianphillipsrc.com, or in the links below, just depending on how long it has been since we filmed this. So if you're looking for it and it doesn't exist, on the video description down below, you may have to go over to our actual specials tab. Is that what we have for that?
It's just on the website. If you scroll down just a little bit, I list whatever coupon codes we know about at the time.
Okay, very good. So here we go. So we've got a simple bag, no damage so far. Everything is totally built and ready to go.
My favorite.
No more impracticalities, no more redesigning. Look how big the control surface is. That is a huge inboard flap with a piece of steel, goodness gracious. And a piece of steel, another ball link, large control arms. That's pretty sweet because as we decide to do more control authority, if we do, we can actually do that, which is awesome. That's one of the problems we've had with our Volantix offerings that we've covered in years past. So I'm gonna just definitely say this thing has already got me excited and I'm one wing in. So that being said, we have done numerous ASW 28s. In fact, I think we've done that one particular model like 3 or 4 times. And it's one of our popular videos that we have on our channel. And obviously, if you wanna go back and look at yesteryear and see what we had, look how far we've come.
Yeah.
This would be a good example because look at this. We have a plug, we have a plastic insert here, and we have a receiver for the wing spar. And look at this. Feel how nice that feels. Man, that is super solid.
Yeah, that's really nice.
Look how much plastic is all together.
Yeah.
This is plastic. Of course, you're gonna belly land this the vast majority of the time, and then a wing scrape protection and a quick release for the wing tips. Amazing, guys. Cannot wait to see this. Obviously, when we get these planes, we don't necessarily know what we're getting into. We literally get them before the manual is available online, so we can't just go look at them. And that's one of the honors and privileges we have. Of course, this says ASW 28. The other side, I don't even know if I mentioned it, it says Tower Hobbies, right?
Yep, it does.
Yep, Tower Hobbies, so that's pretty cool. So if you guys are our Tower Hobbies clubs and things like that, there's a bunch of clubs. Back in the day, it used to be super prevalent, but then once they got absorbed by Horizon Hobby, they have had and maintain a lot of those programs. So very cool. And part of the problem is, as those programs, they were offering the bind and fly stuff and the e-flite stuff, but you couldn't use the discounts. So this is an exclusive for Tower Hobbies. So that's why it's so cool. And if you guys don't know what I'm talking about, just follow the link, check out the specials. Oh, it looks really good. On the box, I was a little bit nervous, but it's looking awesome. So we're just gonna tempt you by bringing out all the lamest parts first, and then we're gonna get you to what you really want, the money shot here pretty soon. So we're gonna cut out the wings. Did notice that the packaging is more on the little bit less foam side, but I like the way the packaging is because it seems to be nice and sturdy. Also, I just want to point out something. This is so much stronger. Look.
Yeah.
It doesn't move. Guys, the Volantics, I could bend in half. Sorry. Not even in the same scale. This is a 2 meter. So it is a different size. So just to be totally clear, that is a square tube there. We have an elevator servo is actually mounted in, carbon fiber reinforcement, square tube. And look how tight everything is. It's just perfectly square and cut. There's no overflow on the mold or just a little teeny tiny bit. You could take that down if you wanted it, but this feels amazing. Very little flex. Definitely not true with the competitive offerings on the market today. And by the way, if it's not under that brand, it's under others. So I definitely am super impressed with this because we have done what's out there right now. And we definitely had a lot of work. What is going on? They gave us spare winglets.
Oh.
That is.
It's like, why are there 4?
That is really, maybe I forgot how to count.
No, there's.
That is so nice and so smart because I'll be honest with you guys, the one thing about this plane that I can tell you is that these things do get beat up. And I'm gonna show you if there's 2 sizes, if they're the same, they do appear to be identical, okay? So you get 2 identical sets, one left, one right, another left, and another right, which is an amazing idea. I love that. I wish we got that more frequently, especially on sailplanes, because they do take some wear and tear. Now there is enough resistance there to bending. I don't think we're gonna have a problem. And just look close. You see these mold releases or whatever these little bumps are? There's only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them. It used to be that the model was just covered in those things, okay? Now let's juxtapose that to the wing. How many are there? I can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So they're about what, like a couple inches apart like this?
But if you flip it over,
they're super small.
Yeah.
And then on this side,
just a few.
Oh, it's probably half as dense. So just super smooth, and just show them with your hand there.
Yeah.
Just so they can see
Decal
some
is
comparison.
nice.
It's really nice. And then of course the decal's got that matte finish on it, which is
looks nice.
Now, if you didn't like the decal, you could peel that thing off, but just be warned, you're probably gonna have a different finish when you yank that decal off of there. So unless you're trying to cover it up with something else, then I wouldn't recommend it. But let's just go ahead and slide these on and show you how easy it is.
Those are pretty.
Plastic reinforced to plastic reinforced. So it's not like you're going foam to foam or anything like that. Oh, that is a really nice fit and absolutely gorgeous. Now, if you guys aren't familiar with what a sailplane is, if you're new to the hobby and you're like, you know, it just looks like a glider. What's the difference? Grab the wrong one. If you're not familiar with what a glider is, what a sailplane is a plane that is predominantly able to just glide and sail for a long time. Many times they are actually towed in real life, and they're what we call a pure glider. Now this of course is a powered glider. Okay, so a powered sailplane. That looks so good. Scales perfect. Love the size. Definitely more practical because the wings are gonna come out, guys. That is huge because when you get these huge planes take up a lot of room. I have a few sailplanes like this that have to go into our traverse widthwise, because they're so long. This is not gonna be a problem for you. Now, let's talk about how we're gonna get this out real quick. I'm gonna lift on the fuse. Oh, that just came right out.
There you go.
Oh man, this is just so dang good. I'm so excited to be bringing you this model. It looks so gorgeous. Oh, the canopy, amazing. Tower, you have outdone yourself here. So, what?
It's open on the other end.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
Shoot, I'm sorry.
Well,
I could have just slipped it out.
Trying to make it
oh,
easy.
yes. Look at that. Look at that. Look at all the plastic holding everything together.
Yep.
That is absolutely gorgeous. Look how huge that tail surface is. And look how much throw there already is. And I'm telling you, one of the first things I do with sailplanes is I get that tail opened up to make it go all the way. And you're gonna love the way that these things fly. Oh my goodness, look at the canopy. Look inside at the instrument cluster. This is so much nicer than any other ASW we've had. And now this is a foam body, okay? This is not a blown plastic body. So what you're gonna get is you're gonna get a lighter and totally finished product, which is super, super nice. And I love that the wing spar does not go all the way through for this reason. Screw it on, put it in. Guess what? You break one, you can take it out, you can replace it. I just thought of that and I was like, why don't more planes do that? Because usually you want the strength. But look at this, guys. These are metal rods. Hold on, I gotta show you this. This is crazy. You almost never see this. Oh, look, they gave us some Velcro here on the side too. So Brian Phillips RC, one of the things we do is we unbox, build, and radio setup. We're gonna do the radio setup today with a more expensive than necessary receiver, full disclosure. This came with some Velcro, 2 pieces, and came with a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 screws. And I think there's extras in there. Loving it so far. That is amazing. Okay, I haven't even talked about the landing gear and I'm getting excited about receivers. Look at this, folding prop, huge, perfectly matched spinner. This is something that you're not gonna get with the competitive offerings right now. I can tell you that right now. It looks like they strapped just whatever was lying around on there. This looks so much better, holy cow. And then it says motor, it says Outrunner motor, brushless. This is a 3542 850 kV from tower-hobbies, made in China. Big surprise, right? Okay, so we were talking about the connecting rods or the wing joiners, which are here. Now, I had somebody recently explain to me the difference between a wing joiner and a wing spar. And a wing joiner, of course, their elaborate explanation was doesn't go all the way down the length of the wing, whereas a wing spar does. So generally the wing spar is actually going to be inside and the wing joiner is gonna slide into that thing, okay? So a lot of times people call it a spar and it's really just like a wing joiner because the spar actually conducts itself all the way through the wing. And while I'm thinking about it, let's show you a clear shot view. So as you can see, look at that, 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 all the way to here and to here.
Yeah.
Guys, this thing is stiff even down here. Amazing. And if you don't know what I'm comparing it against, just look, you'll find it. Trust me, guys, it's been around forever. And that was a good plane. So if that was good, that means this is gonna be really good. So super excited. It's been forever since we saw a new release. And there are definitely some good ones out there right now that you can open up right now that are really nice and they're expensive and they're big and they're beautiful. Look at this, look at the machining. I gotta say though, if I had to criticize something, seems like a lot of cost for an unnecessarily split and machined part, but I'm gonna take it. Because honestly guys, this is what's so beautiful about this. When you do that, you can keep this so much stronger and look how easy this is to assemble. Look, if this thing breaks, you can replace it. You can replace it, it's serviceable. Since when did we get serviceable planes? What are you doing, China? Look at that, this thing's gonna be built in like 10 minutes. Done. I mean, I could have like taken this to the field and gone straight and flown it. There are screw holes on the end of these, which means you can mount the wings with screws. Look at the screw hole on the wing.
I see the hole.
See that? 1, 2, 3 screws. I bet that's the way it works. Okay, so we've got those on. Oh, this is gonna be so sweet. I cannot wait to get this thing together. I love sailplanes, guys. If you haven't already figured it out, I get excited about these things, and I am genuinely excited about most airplanes now, especially the variety of airplanes as I've gotten deeper and deeper into the hobby, but I still have my favorites. And the ASW 28 was my first exposure to a sailplane, and so I've been super excited. I mean, of course, like the UMX, let's see if we can get this in here. The UMX, okay, hold on. I wanna see how this slides in. The UMX, what am I trying to think of here, cam crew?
I can visualize it, but I'm not sure I
just
know
can't
the
think of
name of it.
right now. The Radian. The Radian, that's a great option for people. But the thing is, this is gonna be a true 5-channel experience with flaps, ailerons, elevator, rudder, throttle, all that stuff. Look at the beautiful fit. I don't even have the screws in there and it's perfect already. Now, I'm just gonna look under this wing. I don't see a screw hole. Maybe you don't actually need a screw hole. It's just got the 2 inboard screws here. But look how far into the wing they are.
Yeah.
They're way in here. So I'm just loving this, guys. And what I'm gonna tell you about the competitive offerings is that people have been using them for FPV platforms and all that. You can do the same thing with this, but there's always been the complaint that it's an overall heavy plane, so you can't really do what you wanna do with it, which is a lot of times doing a lot of thermaling. Now, I found that you can thermal just about anything if you want, but the thing is, to really thermal a plane, you have to have a really low or really low wing loading. So look at this. This is a huge wing, huge. Look how deep that is, huge. And it's long, okay? So a little bit more drag, but it's gonna be more floaty, okay? Now see this? Watch this. This is like the easiest build ever. I'm loving it. There's actually a pin, and I'm having trouble telling which way it goes. I think it's keyed, and I really don't wanna push that in, but I think I am, by design, allowed to press into this. Yeah, let's just look at it. That would be nice to be marked. And I'm very nervous that's gonna push in. I am gonna grab it with forceps and see if it pulls up for me. Also, I might take a marker right now as we have access to this and just mark this real quick. I wanna see if it slips. Oh yeah, it just comes right out. Okay, so super, super easy. Now I don't need to mark it, but what I would like to do is maybe do a little epoxy job and just slide that in there. Something that could be undone easily. But look at this. Brown to brown, very simple on the elevator there. Snaps, positive. And then this has 1, 2, 3, or 1, 2, yeah, 1, 2 screws. And this just goes down here, and then the machining holds it right in place, which is amazing and very simple. And I love it. And talk about simplicity. Okay, simplicity is the opposite of what Brian Phillips RC usually does.
But we love it.
But we love it. We literally love it. Oh, here you go. I'm lined up now. See, there's 2 screw holes. Let's see which screws we need for that. Guys, this thing is like built. Holy cow. That was like the fastest build ever.
My favorite.
Oh, I love it when they're quick like this. Makes me feel so good because then I could get out and fly. We probably could have done this if we would have just built them. All right, we have this bag. It's got 2 Velcros in there. All right, so let's lay this down. Let everything slip out. So what I was getting at before I interrupted myself by something beautiful again. So these 2, 3, 4 are big ones, and then these 2 are thin ones. So I do not know which one these take. I have to assume that the wings are going to take the big ones because there's 4 of them, and that these, the tail section, tail feathers, are going to take the longer, more slender ones because that's the only way it could work. And then I'm just nervous about that cable. I feel like it's kind of hard to tell if that cable is getting in there. I think it is. Let's lay those screws down. You see what I'm talking about, camera crew? You know what?
Yeah.
My hole didn't get reamed out all the way. That's what's going on. There, I just pushed it through. Now we're good. Okay, so I'm just gonna line that up, grab a Phillips number 2. You don't even need a special screwdriver, guys. Not even a precision screwdriver. That's amazing and awesome because just about everybody is gonna have one of these at the flight field. And look, even the tip of a number 2 can penetrate and reach. That's not always true. Folks, I'm telling you, a lot of times on sailplanes, people will take them apart. I don't know why. I hate taking planes apart, but the thing is, if you want to put this in your backpack and hike up to the mountainside and go ahead and do some slope soaring, yes, you can do that. But I've always found it accessible to leave the tail assembled, stick it into a bag, and then have the tail stick out the top. But in my experience, I usually just take them to the top of the field or top of the hill, and I will launch them by carrying them all fully assembled myself. Now, the other thing I can say is that 2 meters for a sailplane is definitely on the low end for a bigger model like this, okay? And I know that sounds sort of stupid to say, but obviously the UMX, you know, is going to be the UMX Radian is going to be a small plane, but they have a full-size Radian, and I believe that's also 2 meter. So just comparing and contrasting some of the available options, since this is an ASW 28, you get that beautiful sailplane body, you get a beautiful actual functional landing gear. Now you could put a soft tire in that, it looks like. Ooh, it's softer than rock hard. Oh. And now it's not squishy tire, but it's definitely squishier. Feel it. You got to feel it. Show the people. I'm squishing it, and it's squishing. That's awesome.
It is a little squishy.
Okay, and then we have a huge ventilation channel here, huge inlet, and then do we have an outlet? No, that is the outlet. So inlet, inlet, inlet on the sides, 1, 2, 3, and inlet, and then outlet. Okay, so we're gonna lay this. The only thing I'm concerned about is so easy to like forget to put the wing screws on.
I know, you're making me nervous.
Yeah, I know, that's what I'm nervous about now, because thinking about how easy that would be, you'll notice with the tail installed, makes it quite easy to do this, but you don't want to put a ton of stress on that. So this might not be the best option.
You want to grab the plane stand real quick?
You know what?
It's done.
I'm gonna actually, yeah, I'll grab the plane stand.
Okay.
Okay, so more about this later. But we had somebody send us this thing, which is pretty sweet. And we're gonna try it right now. We're gonna lay it down here and see if I can lay this on top of it. I don't even know if it's gonna work, because I want a narrow bite so that I can lay this on the ground and not take up so much room. I think it'd be better if I just made it a wider bite. But that's okay, I can see everything really good. You wanna get up next to it and you can really film it nicely then. And we're not putting pressure on the tail. Now the front holes seem to line up better. This one's the closest, so I'll just go for that first. That is pretty nice, actually, being able to stand right next to it. Now, you may notice that this is wiggling a little bit. That's pretty standard on a plane this size. I wanna be able to pivot that back. So what we've done in the past is that camera crew will probably have to hold the fuse back here with a hand, and then I'm gonna stand over here and push in on it, and she's gonna resist by not letting it move. But I'm not ready, I'm just telling you what I'm gonna do. Okay. Then I'm gonna drop this in, and you see how it's not falling? It's because this is not closed all the way here. That's normal on a new plane. Sometimes I can do it by myself, but I usually, now look at my hip. I'm pushing with my hip, okay? So now watch what happens. As I push, you need to push harder, like you're actually resisting now. Okay. Okay, now I need to lift up, and then the screw goes right in, no problem. And remember, the first couple of times on a foaming, you may have to do that, but generally you won't have to do it again after that. So super easy assembly. Maybe get your buddy at the flight field to help you out, or just maybe do a dry fit at home the night before. And if you have to take off the wings, I usually recommend, you can let go now. Okay. I usually recommend just taking it apart as little as possible. And I notice that I'm putting pressure on the control. So I'm actually just gonna open this real quick if you wanna just back up a few steps. This is so big. I'm gonna just open this up, show the people real quick. There's a bite on there. And so I'm just gonna open this up a little bit and just go like that and just get that a little bit wider.
Oh, okay.
The big trade-off now is that it's gonna be lower.
Shorter.
Yeah, but that might work okay. I'm not sure. So we'll just lay this down here. This is like a little Christmas gift for us, so that's pretty cool. We're gonna lay this right here, carefully. And gotta get it back further. See, it wants to pivot on us. So I guess I could go the other way, but I just don't wanna damage the tail section. That's what concerns me.
Right.
Do you have the screws by chance? Oh, they're right there.
Right here.
They disappeared into our disappearing counter. So folks, if you haven't seen much from Brian Phillips RC, if this is one of your first videos, don't worry, there's literally so much there that you could serve 2 or 3 short jail sentences and you wouldn't catch up. We have thousands and thousands of videos, many of which are long. So if you like the long format and you want to help support us, buy the things from the plane or from the links in the video description. I need you over here this time with your hand, and I'm going to pull towards you. Okay. Okay. And what we're doing right now is just working together to get this thing built. This is what we call our Unbox build radio setup. I need to push hard. You're going to have to actually resist. Okay. Okay, let go. Okay, the camera crew's not got enough strength. I am trying to, sorry, did I get you with the wingtip? I'm trying to collapse this. You guys see this right here? There's this, it looks like a crescent shape right there. Okay, so I'm trying to collapse this and I'm trying to collapse that. And it's very challenging to do because when you're alone the first time, I can get that to collapse, but then I can't put the screws in. So we're gonna try this a different way this time. I'm gonna actually grab the opposite wing, and I need to pull dihedral out of it and then push, okay? So are you ready to help me with that? I'm gonna have you drop those in. You ready? Yep. Okay, just get them in the holes and then just turn it with your fingertips. Okay. And like I said, this is usually a first time. It's a little bit challenging to do this. Definitely an easy build. Not surprised by this with a big purchase like that. And you see how immediately when I let go, the screw stops. So camera crew is gonna hold this, and she's just gonna have to hold that up like this so that you can keep filming while you do it. You ready?
Yep.
Okay. Turn it in. Now you could also use a drill.
There it goes.
Okay, got it?
Yep.
Okay, go all the way until it's tight. Now the other thing you can use is I found the impacts are nice for this type of thing. You did not go till that was tight.
No, but I want to get this one going.
Okay, let go. I can do it from here.
Okay.
So when I let go, what happens is if you get low purchase, if you only get half of a thread, it'll just pull that screw right back and it's gonna slide the wing out. It's critical that you get good purchase here because if you don't, you may lose your connection on the connector. But I think the connector has probably 2 or 3 millimeters of penetration, maybe a little bit more. And so even if that screw was at an angle like this, as you tighten, it's gonna pull the wing in, okay? So it's gonna go true as you get down to the face. That's why I was saying you gotta tighten that all the way. See how this isn't tightened all the way and this isn't tightened all the way? Same thing. So I'm just gonna go until that's flat. So overall, very easy install. Always a little bit tricky on the screws first time around. And what'll happen is that foam will compress just a little bit and make a perfect fit. So I'm just gonna go until this is tight. Oh yeah, it's tight now. And same thing here, already tight. So we have a total of, what is that, 6 screws?
6 screws.
Amazing, really easy setup. We'll get that out of the way for now. That is super cool. Really excited about this. And then this thing is this is only 2 meter. It's not 2.2, because I'm 6 foot tall. That looks bigger than 2 meter. So maybe it's, let's double check on that dimension because that thing is bigger than 2 meter. It says 2.0 meters.
Yeah.
Did they not measure it?
Are you shrinking?
I don't think I'm shrinking. I'm definitely not shrinking. All right, let's measure the wingspan. This is weird. Why would they underplay this thing? That's kind of like a stupid thing to do.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just the winglets. Ha! I'm at 80 1/4 inches. Okay, 80 1/4 inches. All right, hold on. Google's gonna help me for a minute. So 80 1/4 inches, guys. What is 80 1/4 inches? So we're just gonna go into Google and we're gonna type 80.25 inches to meters. That's 2.038. So it's just over. But it's definitely close. I mean, that's a big plane. So really excited about that. And look at this, guys, real quick. I gotta show you the wing, how deep the wing cord is, 8.5 inches deep. That's a lot. Okay, so really excited to see if this thing performs as well as I expect it will. Oh, and I warned you earlier, and I'm gonna warn you again right now. We are gonna use a more expensive than necessary receiver. We're doing that intentionally because I wanna show the Vario function of the AR637T. Now, if you want AS3X and safe, you gotta basically end there. That's a good place to go. If you go any higher than that, like if you go to an 8 channel, you're just really going into unnecessary world here. Because with the NX8, we have 6 full pluggable channels and usable channels. And then we have 2 channels above for master gain and condition for state of AS3X or safe or off, okay? And we'll show you how to set that up today because we have 8 channels on the NX8. But on that AR637T, not TA, TA would not have the barometer. So you're not gonna get Vario. Vario is operated by barometer. And the reason we're so excited to show that is because this is truly a sailplane. People use the boop, 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 beep, 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 boop, 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 to tell whether you're going up or you're going down. Now, obviously this is a powered plane. It's getting a little handsy. This is a powered glider. So you can, of course, power it into the clouds and do whatever you want. But once this collapses, by the way, that is an 11.6. H1.6. It's got a nylock on the bottom and a nylock on the bottom. So super simple, basic setup. I like when they use basic setup and not like weird plastic things that are not easy to replace. Because if you were to get a Grofner later or something like that and really upgrade this, you could do that. So that's cool. Also, look at this release, okay? That release pops off. Oh, yes. There is definitely room up here. That's super cool. Underneath where this cockpit area is, that's so cool. Where the instrument cluster is, we have all the wires here. What the heck is that? The ailerons are joined with this weird Y cable.
Oh, that is weird.
That is super cool. And then the flaps, same thing. But you know what? If you want to split them, should be no problem. You know why? Because you can literally do that. That is a push rod. Holy cow. Look at the rod for the rudder.
Oh, wow.
That is a steel rod. Amazing. Okay, cool. If you want to take off this and split up your ailerons and flaps, you can totally do it, and you can do it easy. And then, of course, the throttle. This looks like it's wood, but it's painted gray. I thought it was carbon fiber at first, but it is just wood. But we have the high-quality straps here, okay? Now, the ESC down below, I'm going to see if I can read. It says 40 amp, so nothing crazy there. Obviously, this is a sailplane. It's not like you're going to be in throttle the whole time, unless you're flying it wrong. Just kidding, guys. You can fly it wrong if you want. Okay, so then they did provide 2 red Velcros, which is kind of cool, but at the same time, a little bit weird color.
Well.
So that's neat. So that'll go in there, and then you can put your Velcro under there if you like to. I don't even know what size battery this takes yet, but we're going to find out in a minute. Now, if you decide you want to split and do crow, get back to the channels thing. So we've got 6 pluggable channels. So we have throttle. There's no retracts. It's just a fixed landing gear. So we have elevator, rudder in no particular order. Aileron 1, aileron 2, flaps. That'd be pretty cool. So like if you did flaps and you did ailerons as flaperons, guess what you could do? You could do crow. Crow is a cool tool if you want to use that on a sailplane, okay? Now the other thing you could do is you can operate this plane as a sailplane in your NX8. We almost never show sailplane configuration. We use acros as the basis for our radio setup. Now, I'm going to show you why we don't, and then I'll show you what we're going to do. But I just want you to know that it exists, and one of the most complicated things to set up are wing types on sailplanes, because you can have like up to 12 servos on a sailplane. I mean, we're talking, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4 panels, and they're doing all sorts of weird things. So we're not going to get into all that, but I'll show you why we don't do that, and then you may choose to do it anyway. The other thing you could do is you could set this up with ailerons and flaps. And so you'd have 1 channel, 2 channel, 3 channels, 4 channels, 5 channels. So guess what? You got 5-channel receiver that's air rated. No, you're getting a 6 or you're getting a 4, guys. That's all I've ever seen. I mean, I've never seen a 5-channel radio, a 5-channel receiver. So my inclination is to go with the AR631 because I want an antenna. You can get this thing out there a long ways. Or you go with the 630 if you're not really worried about that, but I would recommend the 631 in this application, like $5 difference. I would get the 631 instead of 630. The only advantage of the 630 in this case is the end pins, okay? But that has the internal antenna. It's just like, you know, if you really got a long range issue, I think the antenna just gives you that little teeny bit of edge, even though Spectrum claims it's the same. Or you can go 637T and you can get that Vario, which is super cool. So if you do want a thermal with this plane, you can get up there with your power, you can shut it off, or you could even take the power function out if you want. I mean, I don't care. If you want to take these things off, you can take them off. Which, by the way, then it may not be classified as capable of sustained flight, which might come in handy depending on where you're flying. Just saying, because drones are capable of sustained flight. And Mother Nature stops blowing, you stop flying. Mother Nature stops providing thermals, you stop flying. That's not sustained flight, okay? So I'm not a lawyer, just saying. And by the way, the Army Corps of Engineers controls most of the areas where you can slope soar around our parts because we need a dam, and we need to find out where the dam gift shop and the dam operators are so I can talk to them about using the dam to fly my airplanes.
Yeah.
Just in case you're wondering, guys. Now, I have a 2200 4S here. I don't think we're going to be using 4S on this. And then here is the actual receiver we'll be using. We're using the NX8 like we were talking about. 637 T, not TA. TA would come out of a bind and flight. Now this also gives us battery pack telemetry, which is nice because you can fly forever on sailplanes. And so if you set your timer and you're just gonna fly for a few minutes, that's great, but it's really lame. The other thing too is, let's get right down to the brass tacks. If you want to go with the 630, no big deal. Go with it. If you don't even want stabilization so you can see the, this when you get into a thermal and you see the plane go whip up like this, some people don't like AS3X when they're doing thermals, when they're searching for thermals, because they'll go up there and they'll be moving around. I don't know how they have eyes good enough to see this, but you'll notice that these are red. So you'll see a wingtip get kicked up and you're at the edge of a thermal. And so you can cut back into it and then you'll see the plane start going up, boop, 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 boop. And you can see the rate of ascent or the rate of descent, and you can set how fast it responds with positive affirmations or negative affirmations, okay? And then there'll be no noise if you're neutral, if you're just holding course. Now, you also hear that when you're using throttle, but you can make it so that it doesn't actually make the noise when you aren't using that function. It's very easy. We usually set that to our C switch, so we'll show you how to do that too. So a little bit more in-depth radio setup here. Just hear me clearly. If you're not using the 637, don't worry, it's fine. You just do everything we're doing except for this plug. You won't need to do that plug. And you just put a voltage alarm in there. Problem is when you're like 499 feet or 399 feet up and you like really far that way, not straight up, thermaling, so that you can barely see the plane at 399 feet up, you may not be able to hear it. Just in case. Just in case.
Yeah.
So if you're that high up. Also, you can keep track of how obedient you've been if you have the barometer in there.
Right.
So you can make sure that you don't, like break any rules, like going up to 2,000 or 3,000 feet. Don't do that. It'd be bad. They might come get you. Okay, anyway, just saying, in case you're like one of those people like following rules. So what I'm going to do is we're going to look at this. It's literally built now. So the one thing we didn't know is CG and battery size. Okay. So we actually are going to bust into this manual real quick. It's a thin manual. It should be pretty painless.
Building.
I'm going to teach you guys a little bit today on this, which is cool. I like it when I actually can teach you something that maybe you didn't know. A lot of you guys that are going to be aficionados in sailplanes will know that you don't need an elevator, according to some salespeople. Right?
Right.
Isn't that what he said?
Yes.
Properly tuned sailplane doesn't need an elevator.
Right.
I kind of think it does, but some people don't. Inside joke, guys, in case you're wondering. All right, let's look at this, camera crew. Instruction manual, created September of 22. Wow, so I've had this out for a little bit. That's pretty much what we had.
Yep.
Very nice, 70 to approximately 78 millimeters back. Now, if there were a time that you could do whatever you wanted on CG, it would be on a sailplane. Because some people will literally ride that CG back way far so that you get more tail heaviness. I'm not sure why. I think what happens is that when you get into thermals, your pitch up moment is quicker or something like that. I'm not sure. Flight times, based on specifications of recommended battery, not included. We suggest setting a timer to 4 minutes.
Of powered flight.
Powered flight. Sorry. So what they're suggesting is 4 minutes. That seems a little bit short to me. Okay, they must not be using smart batteries. Shame on you, Tower. Whoa, decal set. It's already on. We didn't even put the decals on.
Sweet.
Oh man, that makes me feel so good. Okay, so no extension. Servo extension required, none. Left and right flap. Oh, so they're talking about the extension cords. And they do talk about do they talk about the throws? I don't see them. We never do it, so it's probably good they left it out. So they knew I was going to ignore it.
Oh, there's battery.
Yes.
Somewhere.
Here it is. It's got to be here. 4S2230C. Yeah, buddy. Okay, and they're recommending a 631. That's what I recommended too. Congratulations, me. Flight time, 10 to 15 minutes. I was going to say 4 minutes. Yeah. What are they talking about? So now, it is 2020 with wingtips attached and 2000 without. See, guys, I got to say, let's just pause and talk about this for a minute. When you get a manual that comes from China, okay, they're just going to put whatever they get in there. And they're going to just we'll translate. There it is. Print it. Send it to the press. Except they're going to say it in Chinese. And with an American company, you're going to tend to get more accurate information because they don't want to get sued by somebody. So it's kind of nice when you get accurate information. Now, you'll notice that when we measured this, we measured at like 80.25. I wasn't being real particular about that, let's just be honest. But there is a little bit of dihedral on the ASW 28. So you've got maybe like a 3-degree dihedral. It's very small. And by the way, that helps if you're not going to put a stabilized receiver, which would have AS3X and or safe. In this case, it would help you stay righted. So that's good. That being said, I still think the 637T might be worth the small premium because we are, after all, talking about a small amount of money in the whole grand scheme of the price of this equipment, okay? So, and remember too, if you want to buy this and if you want to buy this, which this is what we guessed they were going to ask us to use. So we didn't know this is what they were going to ask us to use, but that's what we're going to use. So 4S 2230C Gen 2. Why Gen 2? Because we're going to get pack telemetry back from this little red and black wire that's going to plug into this micro pH 1S connector, okay? So we're going to get that. Now, you could also use a Gen 1 that's got a balance, so you can just put a voltage alarm in there. But just keep in mind, when you're a long ways away, like 399 feet of altitude away, you got to be careful, okay? You may not hear it. Even though it's a sailplane, you can stop the throttle and you won't hear beep, 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 beep. Yeah. You may not hear it. So, a couple things to consider. Now, the other thing too is you could get an AR 8020T, but then you would lose AS3X and safe, and then you've got extra channels you can't really use. You could do a full length flap, and you could do a full length aileron as well as crow mixing, but I almost like my opinion on crow mixing, which would be flaps and flaperons, okay? So these go up and down, these go down. My opinion on that, which is not the rule, it's just my opinion, is that it's generally not that helpful, okay? Now there is a time or a place in sailplane action to actually change you can actually put those up like this in a pure glider to create more speed in level flight or slightly downhill flight, because you reduce the amount of drag by changing the shape and airfoil to a steeper airfoil, which creates less drag. So you can actually do that, but I don't generally find that it's that necessary on these sailplanes, okay? This is not a higher performance enough sailplane to really matter, in my opinion. Again, my opinion. You could do that though, because you would add 2 channels. So you'd have, on an 8 channel, you would have the additional 2 if you decide to do an 8360T, which is gonna give you AS3X and safe. You could do, throttle, rudder, elevator, aileron 1, flap 2, aileron 2, and then you could, gosh, that's, yeah. And then, yeah, you'd be short, you'd have an extra channel still.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you could do like a toe release instead of throttle, but you're not gonna have both generally. Or you could just do something cool. You could put in a retract later. I mean, you could also do that. You're gonna add a lot of weight to do that. It'd be kind of stupid. So then, of course, you've got 2 channels for your AS3X gain, and then your stabilizer safe or off. And we are gonna set up, that's a tough part, because normally we would use switch A for AS3X and safe, but on a sailplane, you wanna be able to turn it off. So we might have to use the D switch today. Yeah. Then we'll use C to put our Vario on and off. We'll use B for flaps. Then maybe I don't know. It's always tricky. There's a lot of different ways you can skid a cat. Maybe I'll use A to put crow on and off or something like that. And now I'm gonna get off my soapbox for a minute shortly, trust me. I always want this to be gear. I always want this to be flaps. I always want this to be an accessory. I always want this to be AS3X safe when there's retracts, okay? Over here, I want this to be thrust reverse. I want this always to be throttle cut. I always want this master gain. I want this for my dual rates in Expo. I always keep it in the middle to start. I have half as much or double, okay? So softest controls, hardest controls, or most precise controls. And then where I start, half, double. We show you how to do that. Then I don't really use the switch for anything ever. I've never really used it in this application. I have on my DX18, but I don't want to get into that. Just going to confuse the issue. But you can also use trimmers to make some decisions, and you can use these buttons. You can make them do things. You can make the I button, which is the bind button, do other things as too. I mean, it would be kind of weird to do that, But you could do that. Like if you wanted to have crow braking, you could press that and it would just put the maximum deflection like this and this. So it would be pretty sweet. So you're flying along and you could have the throttle down to nothing and you want to slow that thing down, you point that elevator down, get that thing going down straight at the ground, you could press and hold this and it would slow you down. That would be pretty cool. But we're not gonna do that. There's tons of cool stuff you can do is my point. And we're gonna teach you how to do the basics and you can build on that. All right, without further ado, we have to install this thing. So we're gonna start the radio setup, unless I forgot something. Did I forget something?
I have a receiver choice question.
Oh, yes.
If you go with an 8 and you're gonna do all the fancy schmancy
Keep talking.
crow and whatever, all the things that you were just talking about.
Yeah.
Can you do that on the NX8 or would you have to go up to a 10?
Yes.
Yes.
I think you can. You would, well, because we have enough channels to get away with it.
Right.
So I think that you should do exactly what we're doing, obviously, or I wouldn't be doing it different.
Right.
So 630, end pins, like I said, internal antenna. That's why I don't go for this on this plane, because you could be a long ways away, okay? 631, that's what they recommend. Awesome choice, AS3X safe equipped, AS3X safe equipped, but you get the benefit of the longer external antenna, okay?
Right.
Now, but top pin, okay? Don't ask me, that's the way Spectrum designed them. Okay, then we go up to the AR8360T, okay? Now, if you wanna do that, you get all the benefits of what we're doing today, but you get additional channel, and that's gonna potentially save you from maybe having to give up the flaps being independently controlled. Now, you could also give up your throttle too if you don't want it. But this is the 8020T. So this is gonna give you the telemetry function. Okay, so that'd be up here.
Yep.
Where you'd have telemetry function, but then you could go ahead and do the full suite of everything.
But you don't have
AS3X or safe. Yep. So you still have the full telemetry function. This has the telemetry function too, but this one loses AS3X and safe, which is a big deal for most of you guys. You know, if you want AS3X and safe, and believe me, if you're not searching for a thermal actively, I don't want AS3X off, pretty much ever. Like the Crescendo Evo, you can't turn it off. It's an AR637TA, so it's a buy and fly option. So anyway, we just show you this. We don't want to confuse the issue. We just want you guys to understand there are options. And they're all pretty expensive if you get right down to it, but this is Primero. This is good stuff. It's gonna be the best you can put, well, not the best you can put. I mean, you could go spend a lot more.
Wait, don't take your 637.
Oh, I took my 637.
We need that one.
Sorry. 637T. I am tempted to just use the 631 because it would work perfectly. But I wanna show you guys some bells and whistles today because I've done the ASW enough times that I feel like we need to. So we're gonna pause, we're gonna get some garbage picked up and come right back. Okay, so we can't actually measure CG, and I know you're thinking this should be radio setup. You just said we were gonna do radio setup, Brian. I'm all excited about radio setup. We just had that huge internal argument about which receiver to use. We're gonna mark it right now. 70 to 78. Okay, so that's an 8mm range, which is bigger than usual for a plane this size. So I'm gonna just mark it on my calipers. So here's 70. So now I wanna flip this plane upside down. Put the winglet into the sink. And let's see if they've already marked it. They haven't, of course. And I'm just gonna come out here a ways. Now just be mindful that this wing does taper quite a bit and it's a sweep, so it's hard to tell. So if you are wrong on your mark, just be wrong evenly, okay? Because a couple millimeters is not gonna make a gigantic difference, I don't think, on this model, because after all, you're gonna get that battery set where you want it and you're gonna just go from there. There's just 70, so we're gonna go up to 78. Which is 10% of the CG, that's crazy. Or the movement back. Okay, so 77. Okay, so I can measure from there. I know that's not the right way because that's the inside measurement, but I'm just gonna show you guys it's the same in case you weren't aware. Let's see, it's the same. I'm getting the square with the length of the fuse, so I'm looking at the line on there and just kind of lining it up here. Okay, so 7mm. And yes, that's all I do, very simple. It doesn't need to be any more than that. If you want it to be more than that, congratulations, you can do more or less. My suggestion is keep it simple on marking CG. It's never noticed, it's not gonna be a problem. When you go to feel it, you'll know it's there, okay? All right, now getting back to the radio setup portion. You get these longer planes, you gotta watch out for lights and stuff like that. Even with high ceilings like this, you still gotta watch out for hitting the ceiling. Okay, so now obviously we're gonna be using a 2200 4S, and so there is Velcro straps in here, but what we like to do is we like to use this trick called the shelf liner trick. I don't know if we called it that, but that's what I'm calling it now. And what we do is we just grab some shelf liner out of our drawers, and we use some scissors. This is not included, but the Velcro we're using would have been complete with the model here. Now, because I don't know the exact position, I'm probably just gonna go ahead and temp this in here. I know I don't have the receiver in, that's gonna make an impact, but I just wanna make sure I'm basically in the middle here. And if I'm basically in the middle, then that can give me a good idea of where I want the shelf liner to hit. I mean, sometimes they put two straps and you don't need either of them, because they don't line up right. And that's one of the annoying nuances of doing these models. We found over the history of doing it, I think that's gonna be that's where I expect it's gonna end up. These are high quality straps, but they have terrible memory on them right now. So it's like really annoying to get these things pulled out. Sometimes they do that where they get stuck down. Camera crew, can you put one single hand on that? Thank you. It's wanting to pivot on its landing wheel. Every time I move, it's pivoting on me. Okay, there we go. All right, so now I've got that pulled through. High quality strap you can do that with. If it's low quality, you would have ripped it in half, and yes, I have done that. I've ripped them in half. Okay, so we'll just push that down temporarily. That's where I believe it's gonna go. It's really close. And you know what the heck, we'll just actually pull this thing out. Gotta pull it out here in a second anyway. And we're just gonna temp it in there. Gentle with your antennas as you pull them out. Yes, they are antennas, not antennae. Antennae are on animals. Antennas are when you have more than one antenna. I learned that too from one of our subscribers. Hopefully he's correct. Okay. Now, I've got the battery where I believe it's going to go. I'm holding my finger on the tail end. It's nose heavy. Now I'm holding it on the front and it's tail heavy. Wow, pretty good. Okay, so good guess, lucky guess. Okay, now I can just throw that to the wolves for later. Yes, I keep everything, obviously.
Of course.
Okay, so we're gonna pop the lid. We know approximately where everything is gonna go, so I'm gonna basically favor the front strap with my Velcro for this function. So now this stuff works so dang good, and this of course we're gonna land. It's a wire that's gonna help us to get telemetry data from our battery. So I'll show you how to do that shortly as well. But this is the Velcro, came with this hook and loop. And where is my battery? My battery's in there. So what I wanna do is I wanna look at my battery and just say, okay, what do I have on there? This is brand new battery. We got these when we got the F-14, awesome plane by the way. And we are gonna want this if we wanna hook onto that. But we don't really wanna hook onto it, but I just do this out of, pretense somewhat. I don't usually put Velcro on my packs, and so I have to really search for one that actually has Velcro. And you know what, I can't even think of one. Here's one. Here's one that has Velcro, maybe. Yep, here's one that has Velcro. Okay, so I want the sharp one for the inside of my plane. You need to do that test if you plan on using your Velcro. It's all about options for me. I wanna make it so it's easy if things change over time. So this is what's gonna get stuck down. Now, only drawback I see about this is I'm gonna cover up that spot where the ESC is. So it's gonna get warm there, but that's okay. And if you wanna avoid that, what you can do is you can actually cut out parts of this, or you could cut this in half and you could just, like straddle more closer to the edge. I'm just not gonna do that, it's a lot of work. And then this side's gonna go up, okay? That's all I need to do is just figure out what direction to make that stick. Okay, so guys, if I go too fast or I lose you in a detail, timestamp your questions for me. If you do ask them, I try to reply to questions as quick as I can. I don't get to all of them all the time, and I apologize for that. If you want to become a Patreon, that is one way to get my ear. It's obviously not a listed benefit, because if that were the case, then we'd have to charge VAT taxes for people over in Europe and some other parts of the world. And so obviously we don't want you guys to have to pay any more taxes ever than you absolutely have to survive and not end up in prison. So we are not going to demonstrate any sort of actual value on our Patreon, but if you become a Patreon, we appreciate you. And it does help keep our channel intact and it keeps this footage coming. So thank you guys good relationships with a lot of Patreons that support us every month. Some of you guys have to drop off occasionally because you run into problems with your finances, or maybe you moved on to different things. We understand that, but there's usually somebody to backfill you, and we appreciate you. And we never want you guys to feel guilty like you need to do something to help us eat food and get by. We are set. I've had a good job for a long time. Me and my wife have made a good living, and we love doing this. But if you want to really support us, the best way you can do it is buy things like this. When you know you're going to buy them anyway, just buy them through our links. If you know you want to buy this beauty, and I'm telling you right now, I love this plane. Okay, it better fly good, because I'm going to feel so embarrassed if it's not good, because I think it's going to be amazing. And we have a knack for telling where they're going to be good, because we've seen so many planes, guys. I can tell when they're going to be garbage. I can tell when they're going to be good as soon as I open the box. And I'm not good at faking it. Just ask my wife.
True.
So that being said, I think this one's going to be good. The best way you can support us, buy these planes when you like them. Buy them from our links. They're in the video description down below. Should be super easy to do that. You get to use all your Tower Hobby bonuses and
Coupon
RC
codes.
bucks, coupon codes, whatever they are. You can go to Brian Phillips RC. You can check out where the coupons are going to be for you. You can look up the codes, and then you can follow those and use our links to actually buy the stuff. It's no big deal either way. If you follow the links from the website, if you follow the links and then use the coupon code and at checkout, it's fine. It doesn't matter to us. We want you guys to get the most bang for your buck, because everybody has limited RC budgets. So at the end of that sales pitch, we're gonna come back to this and continue our build. So this battery, I think, is gonna go that way. Always map out where things are gonna go as you're building. It's gonna be easier at the end, so you don't have wires tangled. Now, this does come equipped with an EC3, even though they're calling out an IC3 on our smart battery. Now, why is that? Well, it just happens to be because this particular battery has an an IC3, and this is compatible with an EC3. So that's pretty cool. Now, if this was an XT60 on the device end or the airplane end, you'd be allowed to also use this. Even though they're not technically compatible, they work. The pin size is the same, and the socket size is the same, so you can mesh them up. It's just a little bit hard to get them in, and yes, we do that all the time. It's nothing new, and you shouldn't be afraid to do it. Now, let's continue on with our radio setup. And you're like, Brian, you said radio setup like 20 minutes ago. I'm going insane here. I really need the radio setup right now. If it's that bad, just fast forward, okay? You can go wherever you want. Okay, so you see this? I'm gonna just grab this with my 2 fingers, pointer and thumb, and I'm just gonna pull those wires out. As you can see, it's pulled out. I'm gonna pull, not on the connector, but on the edge of the cable. See, I've got it wrapped around my thumb. Now, why are you doing that, Brian? You're gonna rip that wire in half, and I want the radio set up right now, Brian. Just calm down. So what we're gonna do is we're just gonna go around like this. Brian, I've had enough of your shenanigans. I'm clicking to another video. I wanna see this thing crash already. Yeah, that's right. It was released a minute before this video, or actually a minute after. You have to watch 1 minute of the unbox before the flights are released. We started doing that this year because the algorithm punishes us so bad for long format. Yeah, you deserve it too, Brian, says that guy. Our peanut gallery has been pretty vocal tonight. So anyway, what I'm doing here is I'm just twisting this wire. I mean, it's pretty complicated what I'm doing here, and I don't think anybody could figure that out without watching a video about some dude doing it. But I'm gonna just do this. Now watch what happens. Once I get back here, then that keeps it nice and tidy. And then you don't have a bunch of sticky wires getting in the way that's gonna drive you nuts when you're trying to plug it in at the airfield. Remember, if you do this now, you're not gonna be doing it when there's like 14 people around you waiting for you to plug in your battery, Esteban. Did I say that out loud? Hopefully Esteban watches this video.
There's only like 4 of us waiting for Esteban.
Esteban, if you're watching.
Come fly with us.
Whatever, he sent me a text today.
Oh, we did?
Yes,
Good.
he did. He has some speakers he wants to get rid of.
Caleb was wanting some.
Was he really?
Yeah.
Are you serious?
I don't know why.
Esteban, you're such a mind reader.
He knows.
Okay, yeah, Esteban knows all. So for those of you that are new to Brian Phillips RC, Esteban is the only Latin cameo that we have on our channel. And I met him because I am equally nerdy as he is. And I met his son and his wife. We're driving through the neighborhood and we were flying a Sport Cub SUMX that I had added LEDs to. And then the next day, some dork came down the street on an e-bike he had built himself And that dork was named Esteban.
And the rest is history.
That was a long
time ago.
Wow, we're getting old. Esteban's older than me, by the way. So, all right, micro pH. Story time from Brian Phillips. Come for new releases and story time. Okay, so that's plugged in. It looks good. Now I can get that last little bit of twist and make it look good. There it is. All right. Brian, get to the radio setup. I'm about ready to take my own lunch to work. You ready? So you see how big this is? It's not very big, okay? Now that's why that's helpful, is because you could do that, except you got plugs you got to plug in there, okay? I'll put it like this. Boop. Can't do this because it's going to hit the canopy. Can't do this because it's going to be in the way of the battery when you load it. And this is where it gets a little bit tricky. And so this is why we're doing it now, is because I need to know where everything plugs. Oh, and I got to cut that zip tie. That zip tie is going to be in the problem, Brian.
You're going to cut the zip tie?
I'm gonna have to. I'm not going to have a choice. You know why? Because we have flaperons.
Yeah.
We have to separate the ailerons. Okay, so we got a few zip ties here. We're just going to clip this very carefully. Hate doing that when they're tight like that, because it is easy to mar the finish on the cable, so be careful if you do. Now, why would you do that? Why'd you do that, Brian? Get to the radio setup. This is gonna go probably back here, is my guess. And you know, diversity antennas need to be at 90 degrees of each other, okay? So here's an example of not 90 degrees. That would be parallel. This would be 90 degrees, so perpendicular, or perpendicular, or perpendicular, or whatever. But just be real careful. This last 28 millimeters or so is the active portion of the antenna. And then everything back here is shielded on the outside a little bit. And so then this is a this is a coaxial cable. Okay, so if you were to kink this, you would basically break that antenna. But you have redundancy on this, so if you did get a kinked antenna, this would be the place to have one. I mean, if you have to have a kinky antenna.
Well.
So I want to look at something real quick. Just looking back here, you see where those wires land? They go into the wings, okay? So I'm just thinking about, okay, so like if I wanted to stuff my antenna somewhere special, I could stuff them into that hole, but then I'm going to be running the risk of that push rod moving in and out, potentially damaging, chafing over time. Nobody likes chafing.
No, not on your rod.
No, if your rod chafes things, that could be very uncomfortable. Okay, so now I'm actually, you know, I don't ordinarily do this, but I am thinking, gosh, I am somewhat tempted to just strap the dang receiver in. Because like, where the heck am I going to put that thing? It is kind of tight in there.
Can it go back?
It needs to go, the battery needs to go there-ish. So you need a little bit forward and backward for adjustment.
And that's a vent, so you can't cover that up.
Well, that's a wheel. You're going to get water.
Wheel.
Yeah, you're going to get water spraying in there. You're going to have a wet mess back there. Yeah. And I'm serious, guys, when you're landing in water, it's going to be wet. So get ready for it. Now, you know what? While we're thinking about this, I'm just going to show you one other trick, okay? I haven't even thought about this, but I just want to show you this before we get too in bed with the solution. Now, you can actually solder these on if you really want to do that, but that's going to be tremendously difficult. The other thing you can do is if you need to, you can actually come back to the ESC and do it, but I'm going to show you an easier way that's even easier than either of those two, and we'll show you in a minute. And it's gonna just be basically stabbing this wire into there. And you're like, but Brian, you can't be doing that. That's got all the current in it. Not really. It's like, you know, you have a digital multimeter and you stick it on a you know, like a 1,000-volt circuit. You know, it's not going to catch on fire. There's no load. You're just testing it. Okay. Now there is load here on the end of this circuit. Yeah, but if that's parallel with your load, then you're going to have load on it. No, not really. The load is here. Okay, or in the motor. Just because you go through the wires in a parallel configuration doesn't mean there's load going through this wire. Okay. Anyway, yeah, you're right, Brian. I take it back. So what I'm thinking is we're gonna go like on the side. I don't see a lot better way to do it than go right here, stick it on there. All right?
Is it as vertical as it needs to be?
Yeah, that's a vertical plane, so we're good there.
Okay.
Now, you know, you could put it here, but it's like, if I do that, you know what? What the heck with it? What the heck with it? I'm gonna see if this comes out. If this comes out, problem is you marry yourself to that position on that battery. If you wanna make this thing tail heavy, you wanna use a longer battery, a second battery, whatever, you're married to it.
Well, you can just put the strap back in if you take it.
Nah, we're putting it on the side. We're doing my original idea. I like my original idea. I'm repenting of the distraction from the camera crew this time.
What?
Yeah.
I did nothing.
Yeah, it was you this time, for once. Usually me. Okay,
you in
so
3 seconds.
yes, that's right. Okay, so we have flaps. Flaps are going to be joined together, so we need to plug it into one of these things, and you're like, oh crap, I don't know which one. How do I figure out which one? What would I have to do to learn which one it is? We're going to have to build a profile for this plane. Oh, finally, it's a radio setup, man. Whew, close one.
You should tell us a story about. No, I'm kidding.
No, let's not. Let's not. I don't need a revolt. Okay, so we're gonna turn this on. We're not gonna look at the screen yet. Oh, it's a Timber UMX, so we can look at the screen. Okay, so now I'm gonna hit the back and cancel, and that's gonna bring me to my models. I'm gonna scroll all the way down, way past where we are. Wow, that's a huge beaver, number 137. Add a new model, okay? So we got a new model. Now, we can create an acro, or we can create a sailplane. In this case, the way you do a sailplane is like this. I'm gonna show you why we're not doing a sailplane by creating a sailplane, and I'll show you why we're not. And I'm just gonna cut to the chase as we show you. You don't need a sailplane to make this work. That's why. Pretty easy, right? Because a sailplane is infinitely more complicated than you need, and it's gonna change your throttle stick, okay? So then model type, we've already got that selected, model name. Okay, YouTube, so yeah, like I said, the sailplane doesn't work, at least the way I tried to set it up. So I have abandoned that, and I am sorry because that means that we will be going over a little bit of what we've already done. So hopefully if you're following along step by step, this will actually save you about 2.5 hours of frustration. I got it this close to working, but it didn't ultimately work. I had some issues with the way the flaps were responding. And so I'm not gonna go into it. It just basically, there was something with the way camber worked and the way we had assigned our flight mode, and just something didn't like working. So rather than beat a dead horse, we're gonna just fix it right now, and we're gonna do it the way we should have done it in the first place. So camera crew is gonna come around, and we're gonna do, or actually we can show you what our plan is. We undid one zip tie here, and that was just holding the wires together, okay? So then we'll be able to unplug these and go in just like we did before. So really all you've missed is nothing. We're gonna literally show all the function, but we're just gonna show it doing it the right way. So if you ever have to copy a profile, don't, because it doesn't matter. If the profile is different, so you can see this one's our sailplane. So I'm gonna click, scroll down to System Setup, Disconnect RF, Model Select, Add New Model. I'm gonna create a new one, but I'm gonna create it as an acro. This is gonna make it so much easier. It's gonna work equally good in terms of flight performance, and we're gonna still have crow, which is important. That was one of the functions I was trying to get that I had trouble getting it to work. Now I'm gonna keep my old one just in case I stumble onto a solution someday, or maybe a firmware update fixes something. So anyway, so now we're gonna name it just like we normally would do. We're gonna type in ASW, and we'll be right back. Okay, so we have tower acro, okay? So it's tower hobbies in the aircraft type. We wanna set this to either flaperons or 2 ailerons, 1 flap. That's usually the way we end up doing it. And if that doesn't work, there's a couple of different ways you can do mixes. But I do like having this because it gives us a function of the normal stuff that we like. And I'll explain in more detail later. Select image, standard image files. I'll scroll all the way over. I think we should still have the sailplanes. Yep, we do, and that's the one we want. And flight mode setup, we're gonna set it to switch D is what we had decided on. And so as you see, it says flight, flight, flight. So that's good. Spoken flight mode, this is where we're gonna set it up. So I'm gonna set it up right now. Now we already kind of did this, so we may not show this whole process, but just take my word for it. It's gonna say AS3X off, and then it's gonna say safe. So we'll come right back when we're done typing. Okay, so AS3X. We'll hit back, then we'll change this down here. We'll scroll in AS3X and come right back. Okay, so AS3X. Good. So we'll hit back, spoken flight modes. Whoops. Then we're gonna set this one to Cancel, cancel. We're gonna type the word off. We could probably just stay on camera for this because it's so dang short. Okay, and then spoken, we'll scroll down. There's one that's about halfway down the list that says off. And then there's also like normal. You could make it say normal if you wanted, but I would rather have it say off. Okay, so here's off. Keep accidentally going out of the menu. And then this one's gonna say safe. Okay, so we'll come right back when we're done typing. So now it says safe, and now we're gonna make it. And remember guys, what we're doing here is not actually changing any setting. It's just a label. It just happens to be an audio event that's tied to a label that's gonna be on the screen. Okay, so again, this is gonna say safe mode. Off and SRX. Okay, cool. Then we're gonna go to channel assign. Normally, auxiliary 2 would be B. We actually want B to be our flaps, so we're just gonna inhibit that part. And then right knob is actually okay for that. Actually, I take it back. We want this one to actually be tied to D, and we'll show you why later, okay? Now going into the regular setup, we're gonna start by setting throttle cut, throttle cut setup to switch H. We're looking at throttle down here, it's clear. Now remember, we do not wanna bind this because our wires are hooked up wrong. We're gonna come back to that in a minute. So dual rates and expo, the only reason they're wrong is because we did it wrong on the first one. So I'm gonna lay this down real carefully. Just show you how quick we could set this up. Switch F, that's the one we use. We set 5, then 10, then 20. You guys probably don't believe me, but I can set these planes up in about 5 minutes off camera. And the blathering does add up. But this is helpful information for a lot of you if you're new to the hobby or you're just getting back. We appreciate you being here, part of Brian Phillips RC. And sorry that this one we had to kind of screw the pooch on the first try and come back for some more. That's not normally the way we do it, but when we have a mistake or a change in plan, we like to own up to it and give some clarity. The clarity I want to do is to show the whole thing, but my wife would have probably put me out to pasture if I would have done that because I'm already on thin ice as it is. Okay, so all three of those are set. We're gonna operate in the middle to begin with. Now differential we're not gonna mess with, but you can still use it like before. Throttle cut is very important. It's on, we've tested, that's very, very critical. Flap system, we're gonna set to switch B, highlight and set it to switch B. We're not gonna actually set any of it, but you can see flap elevator pro. See how easy that is? Okay, but we're also gonna set up timer. Timer, similar to what we did, you'll notice is a little bit different when it's not in. Now, we activated this and then deactivated on the other one. So I'm gonna set this to 8 minutes like we did before. I'm gonna hit next. I'm gonna hit next. I'm gonna, at 1 minute, I want a voice. At 30 seconds, I want nothing. At 20, I want nothing. At 10 seconds, I want voice. Not voice and vibrate. And then at expiration, I want tone and vibrate. And every minute thereafter, we could have her talk and just say it. I don't know, we've never done that. I don't know, let's just...
Usually you get annoyed when she talks too much.
Yeah, she's kind of annoying. So let's just vibrate every minute. Or wait, not vibrate.
Usually do a tone.
Okay, so we're gonna walk out of that and then telemetry will automatically take care of it. So we're ready to bind, but we gotta go over to monitor mode. So we're gonna walk back and we're gonna go over to monitor. And monitor is gonna help us to determine which wire goes to which plug. Okay, so coming around to the other side of the plane, just for easy figuring, what we're gonna do is we're gonna look, throttle's obviously on channel 1. So that's what we're used to. Camera crew is gonna be able to see both from this side. It's a tight plane, so we apologize. It is hard to film some of the stuff, and this is no exception. So I'm gonna grab some forceps to make this as easy as possible on myself. I'm gonna avoid hitting the antenna with the forceps because that would not be very helpful. Now, also, the other thing is we chose to use Velcro to mount this. But the thing is, if we undo that, then we'll have to probably redo these. Not a big deal, so we'll just pop those off. And then I'm just gonna feed my tool into between these. If you see what I'm doing, I'm just releasing that from the sidewall. Okay, so it should be no big deal. Then I'll be able to hopefully easily rotate this out so I can get the wires switched, but I keep hitting the Velcro onto itself, which is super annoying. Okay, so as you can see, we've got access to this. We can make some changes pretty quick. Okay, so the first thing we know is throttle needs to be, well, they all need to be unplugged, right?
Probably everything but elevator and maybe flaps.
Okay, so I'm gonna actually move stuff out of the way. I've got some extra zip ties here if we need them. I just have to pull this because I can't quite reach it. Okay, so now we'll unplug all this crap and just start from scratch because it's gonna be easier. Otherwise I'm gonna be tripping over myself. And everything's tied right here, so it doesn't make it kind of tight and hard to read what's what. So we know this one's gonna be throttle, okay? So we can go ahead and unplug that. So throttle is going to port 1, and we want the signal on the top and minus on the bottom. So signal is white in this case, got the second set of pins over is port 1, okay? Then the second wire set that we have that goes out is going to what? That must be one of the ailerons because it's not labeled, okay? So whichever one that is the right one. Elevator is 3.
Yes.
Rudder is 4.
Yes.
Still correct?
Yes.
And then flaps is 5.
Yes.
So where's...
And then left aileron should be 6.
Yep, so that's switched places with throttle. Okay. That's it. Wow.
Oh, that's not bad then.
That's not bad at all. See, the camera crew was having a conniption fit off camera. She was like, hey, you know, like it's the middle of the night. She wants to like eat dinner and things like that. And I'm like, come on now. What's more important, building a model airplane or eating food? And she seems to think it's food. And I'm like, you know, I don't know about all that. Man does not live by bread alone. He lives by RC things too.
Well, the rest of the people in this house.
Yeah, that might be true.
Live by bread.
So now we're gonna try to feed this stuff back into an appropriate spot. I actually need to feed that back a little bit deeper.
The whole
Yeah, the whole
setup.
thing. It's just kind of sticking forward a little bit too far. So I'm just gonna walk that back just a hair. That seems a little bit better. Okay, then I need to get my antennas back into position. Of course, it's kind of difficult to see where the holes are now that I've done this. I should have marked them with a marker and I didn't. Do you remember? I mean, we do have it on video technically.
We do.
Was there one up here? Yep, there's one up here. So we got one there.
And then there's one.
That's like right here.
Right down in there somewhere.
Okay, let me trade you sides, please. Okay. And my apologies, guys. It's just some of these things, especially when it gets late like this, it gets a little bit harder on the familia. I mean, like I could go forever working on these things. Okay, there's the hole. I found the hole, I think. I'm pretty sure I found the hole. Did I find the hole?
It was on the top flat part of that rail. Is that where you're going?
It was on the flat part? Oh, shoot. Guys, I honestly, I admit I cannot remember, and I don't remember it being on the top. So we'll pause and figure it out and come right back. So that's where that goes, guys. In this case, in our case, not necessarily in yours, but that's where we did it. Now, I do need to throw one zip tie around here. That was our last zip tie, and that should tidy things up a little bit for us. Camera crew's trying desperately to get shots of what we're doing. It's just challenging on some of these smaller planes. There's just like nowhere for human hands to be while you're filming, okay? And the other thought is you could wait until you've tested everything to actually put zip ties and things like this on. But the trouble is, what I found is sometimes then you don't ever get an opportunity to actually do that. Because by the time you've got zip ties and everything on there, it's pretty much secured where it's going to end up. And so my experience says you need to, if you're gonna do it, you need to do it at this stage or you won't have an opportunity. Could be wrong, but generally speaking, see, I just accidentally pulled my antenna out again. Oops. We'll slide that back in. Oh, by the way, you can put like a drip of CA or whatever if you want to keep it in there permanently or on a more permanent basis. That one's kind of popped out on me in an unusual way because here in a minute, this is going to be tidied up, so I'm not going to touch this spot again very often. So I'm just going to clip the excess here. Okay, so we can throw that in the garbage. And then I think we're gonna call it good on that part. So now what do we have to do next? I've got the plane level we need to bind, okay? okay? So throttle, if it were to start, is like this, okay? We should need to be able to keep ourselves safe. So I'm gonna go to bind. I'm gonna be prepared. It's gonna time out if I don't do this quick, so I gotta do it kind of quick. I have my hand straddling the prop in case something goes horribly wrong. It shouldn't, but shoulda, woulda, coulda. I'm gonna reach in and press this button. Of course, it did just time out, as usual. Okay, so it's in bind mode. I'm gonna click. What are you looking at?
So you can see the flashing light too.
Okay. Okay. Now our first thing is we are going to watch for auto config, telemetry, and then we're going to make sure the throttle doesn't work, which is good. Okay, why is it still beeping? So that's where you want to be super careful because it could be a problem because we went from the 2 different models. So throttle cuts off, throttle cuts down. Okay, now this beeping makes me a little bit concerned. I'm gonna unplug and replug. We're gonna reset the power. We're gonna wait. Now it's booting. Okay, so no harm, no foul. Elevator's working, ailerons, rudder, and throttle cut is currently on. Tested, off, and tested. So we are now a safe plane to play with and work with. So I can go ahead and recover the front just so we don't have the fear of anything popping out on us. And then we're gonna literally go right into our radio setup maneuvering. You see this here? So I'm just gonna drop that back down because the canopy is otherwise going to engage there. So as you can see, everything goes in nice and tidy. So we'll come around the back of the plane and finish our radio setup. We've got a cat sitting at the table, ready for dinner. Obviously, they're hungry. Okay, so nothing happens. That's the wrong way. That's correct. That's correct. If you want to come to the other side, you'll have better visibility. Roll left, roll right. Remember, you have to check both sides. Nothing happens. Elevator, rudder. Okay, so we need to go into servo setup, travel, click and scroll to reverse. Reverse elevator, elevator up, elevator down. Roll left, roll right. Okay, nothing there, so we're gonna walk back out. We're gonna go to flap system. We're gonna set the flaps to 2 seconds. Watch how much faster the flaps system is. And I want flaps to be neutral. You see how they're walking up slowly? Okay, so I've got those at like 100% behind. Okay, so 100% up. Then takeoff flaps just happen to be half right now. And then I'm gonna go all the way down. Now, I want those to go more for full takeoff flaps, excuse me, for landing flaps. But for takeoff flaps, I want to go less. Because this is a sailplane after all, okay? Then full landing flaps, now I'm gonna walk out. I'm gonna go to servo setup, travel, and I'm gonna go to flaps. And now we've got it in the all the way down condition. So it seems to go, so we'll go about with like 135. Okay, so takeoff flaps, landing flaps. Huge, simple. Okay, now also one other thing, we're gonna go back into flaps. And we're gonna set up elevator compensation with full flaps. We want quite a bit probably. We're looking at this. That's going down just a little bit. I'm gonna go to probably 10. And with takeoff flaps, we might do like 4, okay? So just hardly any, and we have a 2-second deployment speed. Now, Crow is only gonna be active in full landing flaps, okay? Look how easy this is, guys. Come back here, film forward, over here, so they can see both at the same time. So that's all the way up. Roll left, roll right, roll left, roll right. Take off flaps, roll left, roll right. Super, super easy setup. Now, one thing I did on the last model that I want to do again, I'm going to show you right now. I'm going to walk out of the menu. I'm going to go into my servo setup and I'm going to pick on my ailerons only the top side. Look over there. I'm going to click into the top side and I'm going to go up to 150. Now, do you see what's happening? That side over there is moving, but the other side's not. So that tells me that we're probably maxed out on the top of the throw. Or I'm not actually adjusting what I believe I'm adjusting. Okay, so I'm gonna move this. Now watch what happens. Right aileron, look what happens. It's going up. So I went to 150 on the upside, and then over here, I'm gonna go to the left aileron. Okay, and all the way up. So now when I go to the left, it goes up. When I go to the right, it goes up. Takeoff flaps, landing flaps, it gives me crow. Roll left, roll right. Watch this. If I go to 125, there's a little bit of movement on both sides, okay? See, I want to take that 150 down to 125. I want to get a little bit more throw, but I don't want to give up on full crow. I want to make sure I can go a little bit of movement on both sides. Okay, now there was one other thing I wanted to try to do, and that's mixing. I'm going to go in here and I'm going to go normal. I'm going to go, I think I want to go, how do I want to do that? Probably from B switch. I want to go B switch to left aileron. Let's try that. And let's just make it so that it's only on when switch B is in this condition, not that condition and not that condition. Okay, so in that condition, where I have my landing flaps, I want to see if I could get those things to go up higher. So I'm going to just change my offset to a little bit. And I'm just going to move these numbers back and forth. Nothing changes. Okay, now it's changing. You see how it's changing? I don't think we're going to get any higher than that without changing our mechanical setup, because those ailerons are not going to go any higher, okay? So also, I just kind of recognized something that I if you look over at the other side or this side, no change on the offset, no change on that. See, I just don't think we have enough to play with, so we're not even gonna make that mix.
Okay.
I wanted to see if we could make it work, but it didn't work. So we're just gonna leave it out, no big deal. So as you can see, we've got takeoff flaps, landing flaps are gonna add crow. Now, the other thing is, if you have enough aileron up, which is spoilerons mixed in with your standard flap, that's an inboard, flap, then what's gonna happen is you won't need as much elevator correction. So that's what I was just thinking about. So if I go back to flap system, I'm probably gonna change this from I'll go to 6. Okay, so this is a little bit more, but it's not much, okay? And then since it's such an extreme change, I want a 3-second deployment, okay? So takeoff flaps, landing flaps, very good. Okay, throttle cuts on. We have our expo set up. Now, one thing we need to set up that we didn't set up before because we never literally got to it was, wait, do we have everything else? Are we gonna do a mix on full crow? Because we're gonna lose some of our roll authority.
With rudder.
I'm gonna show you how to do it if you wanna do it, okay? So in mixing, if you want this, because you're gonna lose a lot of your roll authority when you go to your full crow setting, we can go to aileron to rudder and we can make this set to switch B. So it's only on then, and it's off then, and it's off then, okay? So then we can set that to 50, just so you can see it real good, okay? That's my aileron. The rudder also works, okay? And then in normal takeoff mode, there's no tie. In normal flight mode, no tie. So I'm gonna set that, now that you can see what it's doing, I'll go down to 25%. So it's just a little bit less, but it's hard to show otherwise. Okay, so now we need to do first time setup for AS3X and safe. But one other thing I want to do before I forget, because it's so easy to forget, is telemetry. Vario. Watch this. So this is where you set how much it's going to change. I want to set it contingent on switch C. So I want it on when it's in either this one or this one, because my normal default is up. So it's going to be off unless I put it to this or this. Okay. All right, now I want the display active, meaning it's going to show on a screen if we want it. And the graph width, you can do 5 seconds, and you can do a lot more change, or you can do a little change. Now, just to demonstrate how this works, I'm going to set it to a really sensitive change. So 0.3 feet per second is going to articulate movement. Okay, so now I'm going to come back out. I'm going to put it on. Ooh, you guys hear that? Listen. Up, down. Okay, now let's look at the screen. Camera crew, if you want to come over here and look at the screen.
Oh, okay.
So we can scroll right over. There's our telemetry for our voltage on our pack. And you've also got altitude too, which is kind of nice. There's your Vario. So now we're flying along and we start descending. Look, so you can see both at the same time. Then we start going up, both at the same time. Okay, ready? So going up and then going down. Now that's a really sensitive setting we have there.
Yes.
Also the AS3X is working, which might be a function of the fact that we already turned on AS3X in the other model. So yours probably won't be working at this point. And so we're gonna show you how you would do it. Oh, and then all you gotta do is flip the switch and it'll shut up, which is nice because you will get annoyed by it if you're not using it. Okay, and yes, I know it sounds kind of stupid. Why would you turn it on if you're not using it? Well, you're not always going to use Vario.
Right.
Vario is only going to be used when you're thermaling, in most cases. Okay, so now we have to go to first time setup and forward program because we did change stuff. Gyro settings, first time setup, AS3X settings. It's at 4 times. We have to go into the gains. How do we do first time setup? First time safe setup, other settings. Factory reset, restore from backup, save to backup, initiate, bind mode, fail safe. Oh, that's kind of cool. You can initiate bind mode from here.
Oh.
That's sweet. Factory reset, restore from backup. Gyro settings, answer. System setup. Relearn servo settings. That's very important. You have to do that because otherwise it won't know what position it is. That's only because we made another model, okay?
Right.
Now we're applying the new settings to it. So gyro settings. Okay, so we can look elevator up, elevator down, roll left, roll right, yaw left, yaw right, take off flaps, still roll left, still roll right, landing flaps with crow. Everything's working there. Good. Now let's go AS3X settings. Let's go priority heading. File adjust, fixed or adjustable. We want this to be adjustable, and we want it to be adjustable based on what? Based on it's already set to remote to this. Okay, so that's awesome. So it's already set to that. Now I don't know why, but I'm gonna go ahead and figure out where we set it. Flight mode setup. See, it's already set. Flight mode channel. Okay. So if it wasn't already set, you would have to just scroll in to whatever it is you want. And then that would, you want to see that number change. So I have AS3X active here, off, and then active. Okay. Now we need to do save first time setup. Before setting up safe, a flight mode channel must be set, which it's already set. It's just going through the motions and then continue. So the one I want safe to be in is going to be flight mode 3. Okay, now this is where the plane needs to be actually level. So I'm paying attention to whether or not it's level right now. And the camera crew is gonna go in the living room and point the camera. She's gonna go in the living room and point the camera at the plane. And we're gonna just pay attention to how wide it is, and we're gonna look at a place on the wall, and we're gonna see if it's square, okay? That's gonna tell us if we're level that way, and then I'm gonna do the same thing here. You can stay right there. I'm pointed slightly downhill, and all I have to do to get this thing level is basically slide the pillow in and out so that this thing can slip down until it seems like it's a pretty level attitude front to back. And it's close. I want it just slightly downhill, ideally. So now I'm gonna go into this level, model, and capture attitude. So yeah, so it's got just a little bit going on there, which makes sense. And then I'm just gonna hit next. Okay, so we have safe mode is inhibited in this mode. I'm gonna change it to self-level and angle demand. In this mode, I want it off, and I want AS3X mode only. So its safe mode is off as well, okay? So that's done. Now I can go to AS3X settings.
Off. Safe mode off.
Okay. And I'm just going to exit the menu. I don't know if it's saved at all, but this is how I'm gonna test it. I'm gonna go ahead and check my throttle cut is working. I'm gonna lay this down, pop the canopy, and unplug the battery and reset the whole thing because it's probably a good idea at this point. I trust the prop is not gonna start now because we have verified that. Okay, throttle cut is on. We're just gonna let it initiate. Okay, cool. So the other thing I wanna check while it's stopped, throttle cut is working. I'm gonna feel that there's resistance. It has braking on, so it stops the prop actively. And you want braking on a sailplane, otherwise your prop will not fold when you are sailing, and it'll create a tremendous amount of drag. Okay, throttle cut's off. Okay, so obviously that's enough to activate AS3X. I can hear it. I'm turning the knob, if you want to come over here so that we can see this. I'm moving the ailerons, I'm looking at them, I'm watching down the length of the wing, rolling up, rolling down, rolling up, rolling down. I can't see good enough to demonstrate on film. Listen, now is it off? Definitely it's off. Is safe mode on? Two ways to tell. Either the amount of throw, it's not on, okay? So I was afraid of this, and it's not a big surprise because I noticed that it normally reboots the receiver when we actually turn safe on. So I must have missed a step. Throttle cuts on to be safe. I'm gonna go back out of safe mode, doesn't really matter though. I'm gonna go down to forward programming. We're gonna connect, we'll just go through the first time setup again. It should work. See, we never actually acknowledged the changes. That's why it didn't work. Everything is good.
Safe mode.
That looks all correct. Everything is correct. It's just never actually been next. I never applied the changes. Guys, I forgot that step. I apologize. You can hear it rebooting. Listen to two dances. One dance. Two dances. Okay, cool. So now safe will come on, but I have to walk out of this menu because it won't initiate if you're in the forward programming. Okay, so now we should be in safe. And I could already tell because I can hear the customary noise, and it's trying to roll me the quickest route to level. So you can also tell where it perceives level by where it makes its decision change. Okay, so now it's rolling till it's level. Now look at the elevator. It's trying to roll me to a level state, and it's trying to push me down. And then of course, we're not gonna see anything but AS3X in terms of the rudder, okay? So I can lay this back down in a safe spot. So everything's working on safe. Now, I can move this. Here's another trick. when you give full elevator or ailerons, just hold the stick down like that. You should get more movement as soon as you come out of safe because your angle limits are going to limit how much throw you can have. And then AS3X hasn't been activated because we never gave throttle. Now we did. Throttle cuts on. Yep, it's working. I can see it going up. I can see it going down. I can see it going up. I can see it going down. I can see it going up. I can see it going down. I can see it going up. I can see it go down. I can see it going away. I can see it coming toward. It's hard to see on camera, and for that reason, I'm going to go to 4 times gain so you guys can see. Going into forward programming, gyro settings, AS3X settings. I'm gonna go to this 1 times and go to 4 times, and I can say in the menu just so you can see what I'm talking about. Oh yeah, look at the rudder. As I move it away, it's gonna go that way. It's gonna come toward me. I don't know if I'm gonna probably have to turn this so the camera crew can see. Okay, just watch down the length. See how it goes that way? See how it goes the other way? Okay, so as I go this way, it corrects. As I go that way, it's trying to go that way. As I go this way, now watch the elevator. It's going up, it's going down. I'll give you an even closer shot. It's going up, it's going down. It's going up, it's going down. Okay, now elevator, or excuse me, rudder. Aileron, goodness gracious. Watch the tip. Up is up, down is down. Same thing over here. Up is up, down is down. It's subtle, but you can definitely see it. You're just looking at the edge, okay? So all the control surfaces are working. Then master gain. I usually do this by hearing. All the way down to nothing. And then at the medium point, we're good. So everything is working. It's working in the correct direction. But because we have a complex wing, we have to test it with flaps as well. Up, down, up, down, up, down, up. Left, right, okay. Now full landing flaps or crow. Up, down, up, down, up, down, left, right. Okay, so all the configuration is working. We have Vario set up. We have everything set up with the exception of I'm gonna change 4X back down to 1X. And then I'm gonna go to fixed and adjustable. Make sure they're all adjustable, and they are. And then we're gonna just walk out. And basically this plane, set that to about 50%. We're gonna take off from the middle expo mode when we do our maiden flight. We're gonna take off in takeoff flaps. We're gonna get flying. Then we're gonna bring it around and do a couple of tests with Crow, see how that works, see how much roll authority we lose and if it's acceptable or if we need to back off some of the flaps or make adjustments there. And then if we need to make adjustments on our dual rates in expo, we'll be able to do it at that point. But just remember, you're gonna start in the middle setting. If you don't have enough sensitivity, you'll go up to the less expo, about half as much. Or if you have too much expo, or if you want more expo, you can go like this. This also drop your rates down just a hair. But remember, with safe and AS3X, you're probably not gonna wanna mess with that. Or alternatively, if you shut off AS3X and safe, so this would be safe, this would be off, and it says it right on the screen now, the way we set it up is AS3X, off, and safe. And she'll say that to you while you're flying. So if you're in off, you may wanna go a little extra expo. But I'm gonna leave it there, and it's probably gonna be fine. And I'll probably fly there too. So hopefully this video helped you guys. I'm sorry for our malfeasance and having problems in our setup. This thing looks amazing. I can't wait to get in the air with it. I love the ASW28. I love the fact that this thing is flying on 4S, which is amazing. It should have plenty of power. And I love the size. I love the look. I love the cleanness. I love the fact that there's already covers over all the servos that matter. I love the fact that we have a good bump guard on both wings and the tail, as well as a true wheel on the base, which is always nice if you fly from a runway. But at the end of the day, guys, we are here to serve you and the RC community. We want you guys to buy these things from the links if you want to give us a pat on the back. It's the best way you could help us. We also have Patreons that have been supporting us monthly. If you want to become one, there's a link down below. Remember, it does help get access to us with questions and stuff like that, but we don't sell that. It just happens to be the reality of the situation. We answer comments. on our channel, but it's just hard to keep up. So we're not really overtly trying to do that because these guys are supporting us financially. You know, a few of these guys, you know, it's like $1 a month. It's not a huge thing. So, and we don't want to poo-poo anybody's gifts. It's just, it sets them apart in terms of like, there's a huge pool of comments over here and there's like, you know, a small pool over here. So we're trying to help everybody as much as we can, but we can only get to so many comments. And when we're filming videos until 2 in the morning on weeknights, it definitely makes it a little bit harder on us. But that's not your issue. That's between us and our affiliates. So beautiful plane, cannot wait to get this thing in the air. I'm kind of hoping we can do it tomorrow if the weather permits, and we'll be publishing this video for you guys really early on its release schedule so you guys can get one ordered. Don't forget to check Brian Phillips RC for coupon codes because we want you to get the best bang for your buck. And yes, we do financially gain if you buy this plane or that plane or any of the other planes we have reviewed in the past, and we have reviewed a lot of them. So we never want you to buy something that you don't like. And the thing is, we're trying to help you guys make a good decision with your limited RC budgets and finite time budgets and finite expertise and finite skills, just like we have. So at the end of the day, we're here to serve you, not necessarily these companies we work with. Although special thanks to Tower for getting this to us today. And we work with a lot of different companies. Tower is just one of many. So we're really happy to be bringing you this. And then of course the Spectrum receiver and battery, we'll link to those in addition to the actual plane in the plug and fly configuration. This will be a Tower exclusive, so super excited to be bringing you this today. And thanks so much for watching, guys. We appreciate you being here time in and time out. And if you guys have questions, definitely leave them in the comments below. Don't forget to smash the like button, click the bell for notifications, and subscribe if you haven't already. And that's gonna help you guys get new updated content somewhere between 2 and 5 times a week. It's kind of getting to be a little bit crazy, but we try to do a Monday or Tuesday release, surface vehicles on Wednesday, and then our main event kind of on that Thursday, Friday time frame. And this is kind of a different week. We've had a lot of new releases this week, and it's not even spring yet. So just imagine what it's gonna be like in a few months when it starts getting beautiful out again and you're just egging to get out of the office or out of the work clothes or whatever and get into something like this. We wanna be here to help you guys make the best choices, and we'll keep being here. So thanks for watching, guys. We really appreciate you here on Brian Phillips RC, world's best audience.